Welcome to A Second Helping with Allison Bartow, a wedding photography podcast with a focus on second shooting. On this week's episode, we have a blowout bat mitzvah where the sky is the limit, especially for the aerialists. Money is no object. Jackie and I make the huge mistake of using square plates instead of round ones. I get manhandled by a little lady. And a guest has a $6,000 Leica camera, but no memory card. I am back. It is 3:30 on Saturday. I am on my way down to the city. I am shooting a mitzvah with Jackie. So this will be my third mitzvah with her, my fourth total overall, and my third bat mitzvah. So this one looks like it's going to be absolutely bananas. There are 371 guests coming, 151 kids. 3 busloads of kids are coming to this party. And it is at 2300 Arena on Swanson Street in Philly. I've never been there. I looked it up on Instagram and all of the pictures are, I think, wrestling. And it's just a huge space. So last night, the planner sent Jackie like the final timeline, and it is action-packed and also a map. It looks like we are in Ocean's 11, about to break into a bank or a vault or whatever they break into in that movie, the Bellagio. I mean, it's everything. There's all these tables everywhere, the dance floor, every little station. There's a money booth. There's bubble ladies, contortionists, aerialists, a glam bar, a bracelet making area, just everything you can think of. I am going to be the second photographer, and there's also a third photographer. The video team is Cinema Cake, which is apparently a very good video company, and I guess they start at like $10,000. So it is going to be quite an elaborate party. We have, I think it's Tropical Storm Ophelia coming through the area. So lots of rain forecasted. Some people are freaking out. So I'm supposed to be there at 6. But because yesterday it got a little dicey driving into the city, I figured I would just leave plenty early. So I left at 2:50, which will, if I get down there, when Waze is saying will have me there like 2 hours early. The other thing is Danny, the mitzvah girl, is doing like a dress rehearsal at 5:30. So I really would like to see that just so I can see it with my own eyes. So I'm prepared for that. So I would just rather get there, set up my stuff, and be ready to go, and then have time to kill while I'm there versus being nervous. That's it. It sounds like it's just going to be a huge blowout event. I mean, there's just stuff every 15 minutes. So it should be a good night. It is almost 1 o'clock. I am on 95 on the way home. This is going to be a disaster of a recording, and I'm going to have to come back and do a lot of editing because it's going to be all over the place. This was an experience, a journey. It was absolutely bananas. So I don't even know. I got there at 4 o'clock, so 2 hours ahead of when I was supposed to be there, and that was absolutely the right thing to do. I pull up and park, and the doors are locked, and they won't let you in. And so, thank God there was like a little cater waiter. So they like motioned around to walk around the building. So I'm like wheeling all my stuff and start walking around the building, and the building ends and we have to like keep going. There's like a chain link fence and then finally like a gate. So it's chain link fence, razor wire. So we go in the gated area and it's the loading dock, and there are all of these trucks, Penske trucks, like not really 18-wheelers, but I mean, close. And I was like, oh my God, it reminded me of the documentary I watched recently about cruise ships and just like all of the logistics that go into it. And when I saw this, I was like, this is what we thought, which is like a huge, expensive wedding, because no country club wedding has all of these trucks and all of this. So I go in and it is so confusing, just this space, the way there's pipe and drape blocking everything off. And the other best part is that, so I go in and I'm trying to figure out, like, I know that there's like a section for this and a section for that. And a couple of times I was like, oh, there's a doorway. And it was just mirrors, like big selfie mirror, who knows? And I needed that time to get my bearings. And then Jackie arrived and we like loaded stuff in and like got some light stands unpacked, but just started walking around, and it was nuts. There were dozens of people there. They were setting it. There was stuff everywhere. The dance floor had craft paper down and then plywood sheets on it. They were setting up everything. There was a scissor lift in the middle of the room. They had beaded garlands, all of the walls. So like 23-foot long beaded garlands. That alone would have given me an aneurysm, because every time I looked at them, I was like, I couldn't untangle one strand of that, much less these curtains of them. And the stage was there. There was just like all these orbs with disco balls in them that were all over the floor, and they're just setting everything up, and they're just high top tables and all of these chairs, and it was just extravagance and just layered upon layered of expense. So there's like mirrored cocktail tables with like mirrored trios of obelisks, and just, there weren't actually a ton of flowers. There was really just hydrangeas, white hydrangeas. It was all like white and mirrors. There were like some elevated pieces with candles in them. There were a lot of candles all over. And it just was a lot of moving parts. And so we were figuring things out, and Jackie was trying to figure out where we were going to do family portraits. And she sees the planner and she was like, oh, hi, have you had a chance to meet Allison? And I'm like standing kind of behind her and off to the side. She's like, I don't have time now. I don't know if she saw me or not. It was just like the funniest response. So the planner is probably a very lovely woman. She's a little bit older, and she was harried, frenzied. She was kind of like, was it the rabbit in Alice in Wonderland? It was just a lot. And right away, I always think like, oh, I would have wanted this done hours ago, just because I know that there are always little things that go wrong. And I had set my bags down like in a corner by the stage. I went out and met Jackie, and then when I came back in, there were, of course, 3 people over there with a ladder. So I said, do you need me to move these? And they were like, yes, please. I was like, okay. And I look, and this woman is threading more beaded garland, like pushing each strand up through the metal piece. And I just like looked around and I thought, oh my God, like how many of these do you have to do? They had like a frame in the center with more like silver garlands coming down. It was just stuff everywhere. And it started, like, time just started ticking, and we were looking around and we're like, I don't know how they're going to get this done. I mean, there were bars that were set up and food stations that needed to be set up and just photo booths. And it was funny because there were things that I'd read on the timeline that I just didn't know what they were. And like swing photo booth. And I don't know, I read it and I thought like, oh, maybe it's a photo booth that it swings to something else. Here it was like a little, not a room, I don't know what, like a little something or other with a swing in it so that people could pose on this swing and have their, do a photo booth there. And then there was one of those like 360 cameras that go around and take selfies. There was a glam station. There was the air hockey and the basketball. There was a team of people airbrushing trucker hats. There was a whole wall where they were setting up like a swag booth, and there was a money booth where the dollars flew around, and then you could redeem those dollars like you were at Chuck E. Cheese to buy swag and whatnot. There was just so much. I'm forgetting stuff. There was, in the adult cocktail hour room, an entire wall that wasn't there normally. Like, it looked like stacked glass cubes, I don't know, 10 feet by like 40 feet long, that we think was brought in just for the party. They were supposed to get there. I forget what time they were supposed to get there, but they were supposed to do this rehearsal at 5:30. And all of a sudden, it's like, they got there a little, I don't know what time it was, 10 after 5 or so. And they came in, they were like, hair and makeup were done, but they had to still put their dresses on. And the mom was like super impressed with the room and the space and all of that, which was great. And they went to get dressed, and I'm thinking, we're supposed to be doing this walkthrough at 5:30. This place is not, there's the dress rehearsal at 5:30, and the dance floor hadn't been like opened up and peeled back yet. And the planner was saying, do photos there, but you couldn't get on the dance floor yet. We were trying to figure out if we should use the other space. And then it got a little, I mean, I don't want to say chaotic. Internally, it was chaotic because they came in, they were doing something else, and they wouldn't get started with family photos. So they were like doing other things. And then, it was the big the dancers were rehearsing, because there were all these routines that they had. So they were running through this with the DJ and the music and all of this. And so we're just all standing there watching them, and they're running through it and, you know, just practicing everything and the lights and all of this. And it's like, we're supposed to be into family portraits at this time. And then they had the party girl go out, the mitzvah girl go out, and they were running through stuff with her. And finally, we were able to start portraits. And it was like, I think immediately they were like, she's over pictures, but we hadn't done the pictures yet. And so just trying to get everybody together. And she kept saying, like, I want to be done. Like, I want to go. What did she want to do? She wanted to change her dress. I think she was saying she wanted to change her dress. And so she was getting frustrated. But like, the family members were there. Like, we had to go through some of these. And right as we get started, the planner comes over with like this piece of plexiglass, and it is the price sheet for the dollars at the little booth. And so she interrupts Jackie's portraits to have her like assign prices to stuff. And it was just like the strangest, just like interruption that just didn't seem like it needed to be done then. And the daughter, I was like kind of taken aback. This is the first time I'm meeting her, but just like the frustration level and like the vocalization of how much she didn't want to be participating in this. So we got through it. I don't even remember at this point what time it was. We were talking then to like the videographers, and the timeline had, after introductions, a 7-minute movie that they had made. And we found out that the girl had decided that she didn't want them to play it because she was embarrassed. And Jackie says to me, that was probably a $20,000 video project. And sure enough, later on, we're talking to the videographer about something, and he was frustrated because he put a lot of work into it. They were in another country, and it just so happened that the family and the videographer were in this country at the same time. So they filmed all this stuff, and he made a video, and he said to us it was $20,000, and the girl scrapped it. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And so it was a lot of people. It was a huge space, but at the same time, it's just a lot of people. I ended up doing a lot of the grip and grins in the adult area. It was just, there were so many spaces that I didn't even make it to like the front area until like well into cocktail hour, and that was like where people were received, and there was like table place cards and the light up Taylor Swift inspired bracelets and something else. There was a contortionist in that lobby area just contortioning for people as they arrived. The reception space opened up and everybody just went nuts. Like people walking in, like their faces, they were in shock. It was just something to behold. The pipe and drape, everywhere you looked, there was pipe and drape. They were piping and draping everything in this space. And that's what made it so hard to like get around, because it was all piped and draped off. The kids came in and like the festivities started. But like introductions, it was just like a throng of people, and we were trying to get in there, and I was just getting like banged into. We got like some of those, and then the girl came in and she had her one dress on. She had a total of 3 dresses throughout the evening. She changed back and forth a couple times, like from first one to the second one, back to the first one. And it was just, I mean, it felt like every 10 minutes there was something else going on. There was just like towels being handed out with her name and like slogan on it. Like her name was everywhere. There were fuzzy keychains handed out. There was chapstick. They had the whole swag station that had like glitter cups and bucket hats and other kinds of hats. And I mean, just all this merch. So as the night went on, all the kids started to morph into the same looking kid. They all ended up in the same t-shirts with the same hats on, with the same bracelets on. Like every time you turned around, there was just like something else going on. Everyone was blown away by the aerialists, like just falling from the ceiling. There was an electric violinist. There was an elevated carpeted platform. And like at one point I realized that like the DJ's doing his whole thing. Really great DJ team. And this guy's up there playing an electric violin, but you can't hear him. There's a full DJ situation happening. And it was like, how much does that guy cost to stand up there? I mean, I could have done it if you can't hear what I'm playing. He's there. Then the worst part was the speech. So earlier in the night, the dad, he was sitting in the reception space with his glasses on, practicing his speech. He was at one point with the DJ and the microphone practicing his speech and like nervous practicing. And so when it came time, they're supposed to do a daddy-daughter dance. That got scrapped. I don't know if it was because of time or because she didn't want to do it. So they went right into his speech. So I look up and she is holding a turquoise slushie, and like her arms are like crossed over her waist, and she's just straw in her mouth drinking this slushie. And he starts giving like this heartfelt speech all about her and how much they wanted her to be born, her 2 older siblings, and she's just drinking this slushie the whole time. And they're like standing a little bit apart from each other. He's going on and on and on, and it's like a nice speech. And then she starts like rolling her eyes, and then she like covers up his microphone, like his lavalier, and is like saying something and like interrupting him. And she does it a few times, and I'm thinking it's a bit that they've rehearsed. Like he was like, oh, the one year she wanted to, I don't even remember what it was, for some Halloween she wanted to go as Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I can't even remember. And she like cut him off and interrupted him, like whispered something, and then he got back on track, and he was like, and then her Taylor Swift, and she covered it up. And I was like, and the mom's watching and kind of laughing, and I'm thinking it's a bit. And then I realized it's not a bit. She is legitimately interrupting and preventing her father from speaking during his speech and telling him not to talk. And then she like walks off the dance floor. And then I think he got her back, but he like ended his speech. And I was like appalled, because I went from thinking like, oh, it's cute, they're doing this thing, to, oh my God. And you're standing in this room that was hundreds of thousands of dollars to throw a party in her honor. And that was how she behaved. And I was just like, oh my God. And the dad didn't seem to react to it. The mom didn't seem to react to it. And it was really kind of jarring. I mean, that maybe sounds weird, but like, I think just seeing all the effort everybody was putting into this and just all of the expense and all of the details and just, I mean, dozens of people working to throw this party, and then your father is giving a speech that he was nervous about and he had prepared, and that was the behavior. It was really, I don't know, wouldn't have flown in my household. One point we're told vendor meals are served, you can go in the back. So it was very strict. We were not to eat any food. We weren't allowed to eat the adult food. We weren't allowed to eat the kids' food, buffet, nothing. We were clear on that. They said there will be a vendor meal served buffet style. So they let us know that the vendor meal's ready. So we can't even figure out where it is. So we go behind some pipe and drape and we see like chafing dishes set up. And so I don't even know who's back there. One of the videographers is eating. He's sitting down eating. So we say, okay, we look over. There are all of these plates stacked up. And then like these sort of troughs with like sterno canisters in them. And it looked like something had been broken down. So we're like overwhelmed with sensory overload, just like trying to keep everything together. We grab a plate. We each grab a plate. We text Ben to be like, hey, here's where we are. Like, come back. We grab a plate, we get something to eat, we sit down, and we're eating. Ben comes back, he gets a plate, he sits down. All of a sudden, one of the catering women comes over and stands at our table and looks down at us, and she was like, where did you get those plates? And we look up and we're like, right, that we point to the table, and she's like, those are the guest plates, and I counted them. And we realized that these are square plates, and that two guys with us are eating off of round plates, and the table with our food had round plates on the other end, and we picked up plates. And I was like taken aback with her reaction. And I mean, I felt bad. I obviously am not going to use those plates on purpose, but like she had such a strong reaction. And then the whole thing of like, I counted them, and I'm thinking, you don't bring 220 some plates for the adults and not bring extra. Like, you don't bring just the exact amount of plates. Something can happen. Someone could drop a plate. But then also it's like, okay, you counted them. I understand we threw your count off, but we took 2 plates. So your count is down by 2. Jackie says, we can wash these for you. She's like, it's okay, or something, and like walks away. And I felt so bad. But I was also like stunned because like I said, it was just like such a reaction. And I just looked at Jackie and I was like, oh my God. And I said, I just feel like the reaction didn't fit the crime. But I think there was so much going on and things were starting to run behind and they had to serve so many people. And then she looks over and like a bunch of jackasses were just sitting there eating off of these square guest plates. So it was just, I mean, everybody was just trying to get everything, across the finish line. We made our way back onto the dance floor. The DJs did such a good job, and there was just they didn't do the Coke and Pepsi dance that they always do. I'm gonna have to look at the timeline to see what else was cut out. One weird thing was at cocktail hour at like 7:15, an older gentleman says to me, hi, I'm the grandfather. I'm supposed to be here for family pictures. This was 2 hours after family pictures were scheduled. And I was just like, oh, okay, I will let the photographer know. I have no idea what happened. I don't know. Like, it was very strange. And then later on, there was also a woman that ended up being like the mom's mom, so a grandmother. So we don't know who was told to be there for photos, like there wasn't a shot list. So it was just weird that you would have like relatives that are there that weren't there for the pictures. And this is great. So one of the guests asks Jackie for an SD card. Like, not a battery, but an SD card. And he says, my wife's a photographer and she doesn't have an SD card. I will buy one from you. So I think she found one for him. But like a little bit later then, this guy, which I don't know who it, like I wasn't there for it. She had just mentioned it to me. And so there's all these guests. I'm taking grip and grins. And this guy just looks at me and he goes, hey, did you have any luck? And I was like, I'm sorry. He's like, did you have any luck? And I was like, I'm sorry, luck with what? And he was like, the card. And I was like, what? And then he said, the SD card. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I was like, no, I'm sorry. I was like, I think that was Jackie. And he was like, oh, okay. And so his wife's there, and I'm pretty sure she had a beautiful Leica camera. And as the night went on, she got more and more comfortable and confident with her photography work. She just kind of mixed right in with us for some of the photos during the candle lighting ceremony. At one point, she was even positioning people for the group photos. So that was different. There weren't a ton of relatives taking phone videos, which I get it. Like, I understand, like, you want to have it right away, but it is funny when you're not living in the moment and there is a videography team that starts at $10,000 that is videotaping, recording, and going to edit beautifully a movie of the whole thing. It was just, like, I want to say overwhelming. Jackie and I, at one point we were talking and we were like kind of like wide-eyed, and she was saying, like, I feel like normally I'd be doing a lot of creative things, but it's just like one thing after another. And I was like, yeah, it's like you have to try to get the safe shot because it's just coming at you from every angle. And even the things we were looking for, you couldn't find. So it was like, oh, they're supposed to do like the adult desserts and espresso at 10:20. And I saw like martini glasses going by that looked like they were espresso with something else in them. So I got some pictures of those. But at one point I was following people with trays of martini glasses and carts of coffee and cups. And I'm just following them around trying to find out where this dessert station is. And here they were just like going to serve tables. I had lapped around the building and gone into every room that we'd been in. The cocktail hour, the kids' cocktail hour, like every space I could think of, because it was on our list, and you're just trying to get the photos. And it was really tricky. It was tough. And then I was, we were fine. We had a good time. I think we have lots of good photos, but it was one of those things where it's like you had to just sort of laugh because it was almost ridiculous to an extent, just the sheer number of things that were going on. It was like a circus, honestly. I guess when you have aerialists and contortionists and bubble ladies, magic bubble ladies, it's a circus. So we were talking, and she'd said, she didn't get the timeline until last night. And I was like, that's just wild to me. And then she said, yeah, she had no idea, like, a lot of this stuff. And it's crazy because without knowing the number of guests and all the things that are going on, there's no way for her to properly plan. Like, Jackie, at like later on decided to add at her own expense a third photographer. And I was saying too at the end, like, I can't imagine trying to have done this with two photographers because you physically couldn't be in all these spaces. And there were so many things happening that it would have been so easy to miss something. And I would look up and just try to see where the other, Jackie or Ben was. And I couldn't always see them, but anytime I did spot them, like, everybody was on top of stuff. I mean, Ben just did a phenomenal job. I told him every time I saw people like grouping together, I would look up and he would be getting a photo of them, and he did great. But like, you couldn't have done it with two people. It's weird to me that the planner wouldn't have wanted to give her a heads up so that she could properly staff. I mean, budget wasn't, an issue, clearly. I think that they're going to have great photos. Like I said, it was definitely an experience. I'm probably still missing a bunch of things, and I know this was like totally out of order. When I go through the photos, I'm probably going to remember a bunch of stuff, but it was really fun. Crazy and a little bit funny.
So I've reviewed all the photos. Before I jump into that, I want to review the timeline just to kind of recap the sheer magnitude of what was happening that night and the number of vendors and activities that were going on. So this starts Saturday at 8 a.m. and runs through until 1 a.m. So it starts with Pencora setup continues. So obviously they were there the day before. Illuminaire positions lights. Festivities arrives. Sure Thing arrives. 7 Textures performers arrive. Glam on the Go arrives. Love Shack Photography arrives. Metropolis Transportation picks up the family from home. P-Mad Graphics arrival set up in kids' cocktail area. Insomnia Cookie Delivery. Bus chaperones on site in Cherry Hill to pick up kids. Danny entrance rehearsal. Brother Alexander arrives. Load kid buses. Check traffic and timing before departure. Room ready for photos. Valet on duty. Airbrusher starts on pre-orders. Ready for early guest arrivals. Cocktail hour. Allie and Sky at front door. Contortionist and assistant at door. Aerialist at drink wall. Bubble performer strolling. Violinist in adult cocktail. Photo booth strolling. Glam bar open. Airbrusher in place. Games. Pop-A-Shot and air hockey ready. DC, he's the DJ and entertainment guy. DC and dancers with kids in cocktail area. Kid presentations in kids cocktail area. Bus arrival. Kate and DeAndre to swag store, Jim to front door. Performers leave to set up in main room. Allie and Sky at front door. Aerialists in position. Violinist on stage. Bubble artist with ribbons on B stage. Open main room. Swag store open. Not likely kids will have many Danny dollars yet. Photo booths open. Introductions. Parents. Brother and sister shooting Danny dollars. Room goes dark. Danny in position. Danny, cold spark, fog, confetti. Dance, one great song. Hora, move airbrush to main room. Glam bar stays in place. Move Pop-A-Shot and air hockey out. All guests seated. May not be enough seats for all kids. TBD. DC tells kids about Danny box. Maybe put one in the money booth. Adult orders confirmed. Motzi. Serve adult salads. Gather kids for group photo. Dad speech. Daddy-daughter dance. All dance. Vendor buffet ready. Adults seated for entrees. Kids to dance floor for Coke and Pepsi. Kids buffet opens. Adults served. Candle lighting. And then it runs through candles 1 through 15. Espresso open, not announced. Brother Alexander leaves. Dance all. Past desserts on the dance floor. Adult dessert served, not announced. Kids dessert opens, not announced. Roll montage. Disco set, costume change during the movie. All dance. Taylor Swift set with video clip. Kid party favors in cubbies. Cookies and water bottles on place card table. Kids buses on site. Midnight end. Start loading out all vendors. 1 a.m. buses arrive back at community center. So that was two and a half full pages. And that was just indicative of the night. It was just nonstop, one thing after another, and vendors relocating and like being not repurposed, but, just from cocktails to other areas. And it just was action packed the whole night. And looking through the things that went well, I would say overall, we did a great job. I touched on the Danny, whose bat mitzvah was. She's young. It's a lot of people. You're the center of attention. So I know that she was nervous, but it started off a little rocky just with getting started late on those family photos. And then she just wasn't into it at all. But we just kept rolling with stuff. I'm looking detail shots. I feel like an area I want to work on is like detail and decor shots. I like taking those pictures, but I feel like when things are being set up, it's premature to take them. Sometimes I'll think something's set up and I'll take a photo and then realize later they've added more things to it. Even with this, there was like a sign that had her name on it, and I took a picture of it. And when I came back like half an hour later, they'd added like Sharpies and stuff. And here that was like the sign-in book. So when it's not all the way set up, you just don't know what you're looking at. But I think it's probably better to just take the pictures and then make another lap through. And if they've added things, take the pictures. I feel like with other photographers, I run into a thing where they'll say like, oh, I already got that, so I won't take the picture of something. And then I feel like, oh, I'm taking easy shots that, you know, they already have. And invariably later on, they'll say, oh, did you get a picture of that over there? And I'm like, oh, no. And I looked at it. I thought they had taken it when they were doing other things. So I feel like I just have to get the right balance of making sure to document everything without overshooting it and not overthinking it, because that's most likely what I'm doing. But I feel like we did a good job with lighting. The room had, it was professionally lit. There was a lot going on there. I was happy with cocktail hour photos. I think that I had good settings for that. The challenge with that was just the sheer number of people in a small space. So I probably, looking back, could have ditched one camera body and just done cocktail hour grip and grins with one body, because it was hard having two and just like people banging into me and just trying to get around and navigate. So it was just really tight that way, but I'm happy with the photos. I shot most of them at like 4.5. And so I didn't have issues with focus, and I think that they were lit well. The kids section was impossible to shoot. I wasn't in there that much. The other photographer, Ben, was in there, and I think he did a good job. It looked like he had good coverage. It was just so aggressive being in there. It was just a bunch of excited, just hyped up kids bumping around. And so it was a much tighter space, and it's a bunch of kids. And so I was just getting totally jostled, and it was really hard, and they don't want grip and grins. So I was just like, I felt like I wasn't being productive. The one area I did like was the airbrush station was kind of cool, like with the lighting in the dark, they just had like a flashlight where he was airbrushing the trucker hats. And then the glam bar was cool because it was dark, and then they just had all the makeup lights. So there was some really nice directional light to get some of the kids doing their makeup. But again, it was kind of tight, so you couldn't really really work with the angles there. For the different performers, I feel like that was another one of those things where it's like, oh, that's like the most obvious thing to shoot because they're a performer doing something. I feel like I could have shot a little bit more, because when you're watching them live, you're like, oh, they're just doing all this flipping around and everything. But when you go through the pictures, you really see like all the things they were doing with the silks and the fabrics and how different they look in each picture, like the way they're like fanned out and just the different effects it has. And that was one of those things where I feel like when you're moving quickly, you're not seeing it the way that the camera's going to freeze it, and you're not kind of chimping through each picture and going, oh, look at that. The mom wanted this one shot of the dancers where their shirts spelled out Danny's name with a heart at the end. I got at least like one passable version during rehearsals, because I think it would have been really tough. I'm pretty sure I didn't get a good shot of that live. And then even the rehearsal photos I think would be good for them before the dance floor was super crowded, because once everything started, it was just one thing after another. And so it was just kind of head on a swivel, just documenting whatever you could see happening. And again, even with the details, like for the swag bar with all that stuff, they took forever to set up. Like I was looking at the same cardboard boxes for like 2.5 hours. So that was something I really didn't document at all until later, which I didn't have a choice because it wasn't all the way set up, and I could tell it wasn't all the way set up. The aerialist that was handing out champagne, I got some okay shots of her. I tried to do some that were kind of darker with just a little bit of light, and then some that were brighter. I actually snapped a photo from behind on my phone that I liked, and then a few with my real camera. And that was an angle that Jackie ended up telling me she really liked that angle, and she hadn't thought of photographing it from there, which made me feel good, because then I feel like I'm bringing value by getting a different perspective that, she had seen, because you're just moving so quickly. Which also made me feel like I can spend a little bit more time doing some of that stuff. And it wasn't just me moving to an area that wasn't completely congested and getting bumped around as a easy way out. But I'm going through and I do like the grip and grins. I got a couple of drink shots. I don't think I got it's so hard to get like flattering photos of food during cocktail hour. I should probably work on that. Some decent shots of everything was just so much eye candy that, it was easy to get kind of cool pictures of what was happening. All the dresses and outfits were really fun and flashy, so that makes it a little bit easier too. And then the space itself was really large, and again, there was a lot going on with the lights in there, so I felt like it seemed kind of easier, I guess, because it was like all the blue. So we were able to play around with that a lot, and I feel like they're good party pictures. It captures kind of the energy, so I was happy with the ambient. And then I really did kind of mess around with the flash settings to try to get enough where they were lit up and in focus, but then also capturing the ambient. There's some funny parent photos that are good. Definitely still some out of focus. The one thing that freaked me out was the parents came out and did their thing, and then I think the grandfather was in the way for the one introduction. I've got good pictures of the siblings coming out with their dollar guns. What's it called? The money shooter things? Everything was called Danny Dollar, so I can't remember what it was called. So I have those pictures, but then the next introduction, the DC was performing with his crew, and then Danny came out. And afterwards, I looked back real quick at the photos, and they were really dark. And I've gotten really jostled around during like all the kids bumping around. And when I looked at the back of my camera, I was at f14 and I panicked. I was like, I don't know how it got to 14 or how long it's been like that. So I did go back and check the timestamps, and I wrote it down someplace, but it literally is the span of like 1 minute, 20 seconds where I can see the aperture going up, up, up. And then I realized it was something was going on, and I adjusted those settings. But I panicked because I was like, oh my God, what if it was like that for like 20 minutes, which would be extreme. And I would have noticed it. But here it was not even 2 minutes. There's a couple of her on stage with like there was just so much going on. Smoke, confetti, cold sparklers. They did the horror. I don't know that I love too many of my horror pictures. I got a picture of Jackie. It looks like she's looking at me with her finger up, so I hope I got out of the way in time. I probably should have increased my speed on that, even though I had the on-camera flash. I feel like there's a couple of the sister, I feel like there's a few of the sisters that I like. The brother, there's some good ones in there of him. And then I remember the mom. I got a bunch of her, but I feel like the timing was off. Like the faces she's making, I don't know that she's going to love them. There's like one that's really funny. I don't know that she would find it flattering, but I feel like I really like it. So I shot a lot of those. I'd increase the flash speed on there too. Not the flash speed, the shutter speed. So the 1/60th wasn't fast enough, but when I went up to 1/200th, those are much better. And I have a ton of them on. They had her up there for a while. Oh, and then the one guy, they wanted to go up, and I saw his wife saying like, no, you're not. And it was really funny. And then we went right into more stuff. We went into the family stuff with the candle lighting. That was where it was mostly me trying to help Jackie. And then she did say I could go get some different angles. We had previously, she said, which I think was totally a good idea, not to have me too close to her in shooting, because we ran into that before where people are looking at both of us. So I tried to move far enough away to get different angles, but then also be close enough to hop in if I needed to help like move people around. The mom and the one friend of hers went in the money booth, and there's a big reflection of me in that plexiglass. I feel like there will be some that are workable. It was tough getting a lot of the light reflecting off of the plexiglass, but you can kind of see them in there. But I think hopefully there will be something that works for Jackie in there. I just saw a couple of the mom that I like. From that timeline, the daddy-daughter dance got nixed. Coke and Pepsi got nixed. The video got nixed. So a few things got cut out from there. So many little girls' embraces here. that place felt trashed at the end, but my goodness, they cleaned it up fast. Try to get parent reactions and parents, friends reactions and relative reactions. There was like that 360 photo booth, like on E where the camera goes around. Jackie and I wandered over there and I got a picture of one couple in there, and there's like two in there that I like. And that was the only time I went over there. Like I just, looking back, I'm like, oh, I probably could have gotten some other nice photos of that. But you end up just kind of gravitating towards where all of the action is. And I guess that's probably something I can just be more aware of for, not everything is like you have to be there for like the biggest action all the time. Like I feel like there were probably moments where it was just dancing with the DJ and could have wandered off a little bit more. But I feel like you go into autopilot mode and it's like, this is the nucleus right here. I've got to stay right here. And then I have, what time is this? 9:30. Have some I'm like, I don't even remember taking these. I went to the back and they're just really ambient with like all of the lights. And I do like these because you can just kind of see where a lot of the money was spent on the decor and things that were lit and the pictures of her, the huge posters that were up on the wall and the LED screen. So actually, I barely remember taking those and I liked them. So at the one point, the parents were dancing. So I was getting pictures of them and I turned, because you're not going to stand there and just keep blasting them with photos, blasting them with a flash. And this one friend of theirs, I can see it. I see her here. What is she? She came over and I was walking away and I felt this like bony grip on my arm, but then she didn't let go. She grabbed onto me and then like turned me back around because she wanted me to take her picture dancing with, the parents, her friends. And it was the most aggressive I've ever been grabbed by this. I'm looking at the scrawny little lady right here with her French tips. So I just hung out and took more pictures of them. I was probably scared not to. There's a nice shot of her uvula. But yeah, I mean, she didn't say anything, just grabbed my arm and pulled me over there. A couple shots of the shoes on the floor. I almost wish I had more of like the shoes on the floor because it was the concrete floor and then just glitter and sparkles and just stuff everywhere. I've got the guest with her brand new Leica. I'd like to see her pictures and see how they came out. I loved how excited she was. I have two guests with a really funny reaction, and I cannot for the life of me right now remember why their eyes were huge. I bet if I really go back through and study these, I can put some of it back together. The dancers, my goodness, those performers worked so hard, keeping everybody entertained. All the kids watching the slideshows. This is where we didn't know where the girl of the hour was. We were all like, where is she? Where is she? And we forgot. I don't think I even read that part on the timeline at that point, that's where she was going off to do like another costume change. Normally they're like in the center of all their friends watching this slideshow of all their pictures from when they were little. So we thought she had like kind of pitched a fit and left, but she was off doing her costume change because she then came out for the disco set. And man, you have to be in shape to wear a thin metallic one-piece costume. These dancers were the ultimate professionals. And then I feel like there was a bit of a missed opportunity to get pictures. I love taking pictures of people in photo booths because you just have the natural directional light happening. And I went over and there were 8 kids on the swing that was her photo booth. And she was in there in the middle. And I swear to God, I was like, I don't want to upset her. I don't want like my flash to like upset her or like her. Or have someone looking at me instead of the camera. And I just took one picture and left, 2 pictures and left. I may have been a little scared of her by, what time was this? 11 o'clock. I think our light positions were in a good spot. Ben, I think I may have mentioned this. He had Manfrotto clamps that had, I'm going to mess it up. I want to call it like an articulating arm. That could be right or could be totally wrong. But like I have them for like bendy clamps that hold things in place. But he had those for his 8200 flashes. And I was like, look at him with not that much luggage. And I'm over here like I need a U-Haul. So I went on B&H and I researched and I found a version of that I liked even better. And so I ordered one and it showed up, and I really like how it, like I tested it out and I was like, it's really sturdy. It holds up to 6.6 pounds, and an 8200 is like 1.7 pounds. So it should work well. I liked it so much, like when I held it and played with it, that I ordered a second one. So now I have two, which I think will be really beneficial for a lot of weddings in the city. But I thought he was pretty smart like that. But overall, I feel like we had good positions for our light stands. I feel like I would have liked a third one, but I mean, there were so many people dancing and everything. Oh, and at one point, I can't remember if I mentioned this before or not, but I was up on the one elevated like dancing stage. Like I would get up there and take a few pictures and then like move. Like I didn't want to stay in one place too long. And the one guy came over and like nudged me off, and I was like, okay. And I wasn't really bothered by it, but I was like, I was up here before. Like we're here. They had loaded the confetti cannons. I would have been killed. So then it made sense, but thankfully I didn't get upset or get really hurt feelings about being asked to leave the stage. And then the moms, we've got good pictures of the mom dancing at the end with their little bucket hats. My goodness, so much swag and merchandise, more smoke, more confetti. The dance floor got so slippery. I really thought I was going to wipe out. It was just coated at the end with all this metallic confetti. And then something else, and then Danny Dollars, and it was slick. And I was like, I'm going to wipe out and it'll hurt. So I was like really moving kind of carefully. I've got like a couple decent silhouette shots of I don't know if you call him a DJ. He was like the MC, maybe he's the MC, the main guy. He worked so hard. He was the one that Jackie had told me about before that was really good. When I first worked with her, I was really impressed with the like MC, entertainer, DJ guy who was like just, I guess it's the MC, he was master of ceremonies, keeping everything going. And I must have said something, because then she said, or I was just thinking it, but all I know, she said to me at one point, like, I'm really disappointed. These guys aren't that great. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I was really impressed with them. And she was telling me like, oh, there's one guy I work with who is phenomenal. And so this was DC. And I made sure to tell him that, because he really was good. I mean, you can really become an expert at this. Also, there's a few confetti shots that I like, and I feel like if there would have been an opportunity, I mean, I did my best. Confetti only goes in the air for that long. I was ready for it the second time, so I feel like I got some better options with that. But that was the kind of thing where like there was just like one thing after another. In a normal situation, it would be like, oh, okay, and at this time there's confetti cannons going off, but this was just like par for the course. There's some, I like some of the smoke, the atmospheric pictures there. I think going home, I felt like happy, but also a little unsure of like missed shots, missed opportunities. And going back through the photos, I was happy with them. I think happier than I expected to be. I think I was nervous because it was just so much going on. And so a few areas where I think some areas for growth or things to be aware of. But this was such a great learning experience because it was just absolutely insane with the amount of stuff going on. I have another mitzvah coming up with Jackie in, I want to say maybe it's November. So I'm looking forward to that. I like doing these because I feel like each time it kind of gets a little bit easier. You just know more and more what to expect. And it's kind of nice to mix it up between this and weddings. But I think I also jinxed myself because I had said before, like, there's like less emotions in a way. Like the weddings are more of a roller coaster and there's like a lot of different feelings. And I think I said that. I may have jinxed it because going into this, there were definitely more emotions happening on this night than what we were used to. So I think this will certainly help me moving forward. I feel like it helped me, this and the gala the night before. I felt like I was getting more and more comfortable with lighting and adjusting on the fly and kind of knowing what I'm going for. So all in all, it was a win. It was an exhausting win, but it was worth it. And again, I really enjoyed working with Jackie and kind of trauma bonded over some parts of this night. So it was great. It's made a few weddings after this look a little bit easier. And Danny looks happy in the end. She's on her 5th outfit. No, I think she had 2 different dresses. 2 or 3. They were pretty. She looked great. And she changed her hair too. She had it wavy and curly in the beginning, and then she straightened it when she did her outfit change during the video montage. And then she and her friends did a little choreographed dance at the end. I don't think that was on the sheet. I don't know if the MDC knew about it. There are some really pretty pictures of her and they're kind of later in the night. I think she's just tired and more relaxed and maybe not thinking so much and not as concerned with stuff. She just looks like a cute younger girl. Oh, wait, there she is with mirrored sunglasses on looking mad again. So she's got her edge back. And it was hard. Some of the girls were, her sister's a few years older than her. I feel like her sister's either wrapping up high school or in college. So she had her whole group of friends. So there was a big age range of people there. I have to go back through one more time and see how many pictures I took. So 1,588 photos over about 6.5 hours came out to 244 an hour. Kind of feels a touch low. It was closer to 7 when I really started shooting. Because I feel like once I started shooting, it was cocktail hour was packed and then there's so much dancing. So I guess that first hour was a little light, for good reason. And then the candle lighting portion, that was kind of a lighter time. So it seems like an okay now. I feel like that number could have been higher for just all the stuff that was happening. And Jackie had said too, just shoot, don't worry about overshooting. So that's that. I will be back with the next wedding. Thank you for tuning in. If you're still listening, it means you made it through the whole episode. Thank you. If you haven't already, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening. And if you would give us an honest rating and review, I would love that as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to A Second Helping. Please like and subscribe. Pass us by. Won't let this moment